Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Feels like a bomb's hit round here at the moment. Mammoth task today. I've got to get all these pots unwrapped, find out what they're called, document them to find out what I've got. Some I know because I could actually see the labels on the pots. I think they are all labelled underneath the wrapping, so that's quite a task in itself. In addition to that, yesterday and the day before it was literally so cold with that bitter wind that I'd had to keep this door closed round and just basically leave a gap. The heating in the house stays on permanently at the moment. It's just too cold to let it cool down and then take ages trying to warm it up again. I need to keep me warm as well, you know. But there was just enough heat getting through here to stop my grow room heater kicking in, because it seems silly to pay twice for the heating, you know, once for the house and separately for the grow room. You know, electric heaters are not cheap to run, whereas I've got the heating on in the house anyway, so I've been borrowing heat for the grow room out of the house. And today I've got the door wide open. It's just dawned on me my mounts haven't been looked at for 3 days. Now, okay, in that cold, that's not as bad as it might sound, but that's still over the top. So I've got to go around and water at least the mounts that need moisture. You know, it's things like the Tolumnias and you know, the little Oncidiums, Miltonias, and some things just need some water. The Vandas need a dunk as well, so I'll have to heat my bucket up because that'll be freezing cold. So I've got some work to do out here, and I'm going to sort of try and combine the work so that it doesn't get boring. A bit of watering, bit of unwrapping, bit of documenting, but I don't know, it just feels a bit daunting. It just feels like a mammoth task at the moment. Weather has an effect on you. If this was a bright sunny day, I'd have been at this a couple of hours ago and enjoying it, but today it feels like a real chore. But it's got to be done. And as far as the weather's concerned, we didn't get any more snow last night, but what we did get was freezing rain. So all the roads and everything like now are like skating rinks. You know, it's just basically put ice on top of everything else, a layer of ice. I mean, all that snow you can see outside is now blocks of ice. The rain has sort of gone down into it and turned it to ice and then refroze it, sort of thing. So it's a bit of a mess everywhere at the moment. Oh, there's been some people, I felt sorry for them really, people coming home from London to get to this area, to sort of Christchurch and Bournemouth. Their train broke down just outside of Christchurch. It took them from something like 6 o'clock in the evening till after midnight to get to that point, because they had to keep stopping and starting. They were sat for 2 hours in the station, and then the train actually broke down. So obviously there's no power. So they've had no heating and no lighting all night long. Stuck on a train, and a lot of them weren't dressed for that. You know, if you're daft enough to go out in your car, then at least you should prepare and dress for it and take water, take some food in case you get stuck. But you don't expect that on a train. I think they're being rescued at this moment. But that's the trouble when you get serious problems like that at night. The services don't do much until it gets light again, because they can't see what they're doing and there's safety issues. You can sort of understand it. But there's been hundreds and hundreds of cars just stranded on dual carriageways and motorways, you know, where they've set off and it wasn't too bad, and it's progressively got worse. Then a lorry jackknifes, blocks the road, and everything stops. And they can't sort the lorry out till it gets light again. You know, that just seems to be the way they work. Especially out in the countryside, you know, I mean, some of the bigger roads are actually lit, so they could get on with it, but you can't work in the dark, basically. So, yeah, it's been pretty bad. Some got it a lot worse, obviously, certainly up north. But down here, you know, we're so not used to snow that, you know, 1 centimetre of snow causes chaos, and this amount with the sub-zero temperatures day and night is just not doing anybody any good. Our show is cancelled on Saturday, on the grounds that it would not be safe for the vendors to travel from where they've got to get. It would be dangerous. The roads are just, you know, the police have just said stay off the road unless it's an emergency. Well, an orchid show isn't an emergency, so they've cancelled it, and they may try and rearrange it later in the month. So that's off, so I don't have to worry about going out for a bit. But the weather's going to break. It's going to get milder from sort of Saturday onwards into Sunday, and we'll get daytime temperatures enough to melt the snow, or at least down south anyway. So it's not going to be around much longer, but it is a pain. And today everything just feels like a chore. The weather can be depressing, but work's got to be done, so I'll get on with it. Once I've unwrapped all these plants and documented what I've got, I'll put an update on the end of this, you know, with a sort of list of the plants that have come in, and then I'll have to make my mind up over time. Well, first of all, there seems quite a lot of Cattleya type seedlings and things like that, and Dendrobium small plants and stuff like that. First thing to do is find out what they are, and then get on the internet, look them up, you know, see their care, this, that and the other, although most of them I just know anyway. But it's a matter of looking at the blooms and trying to get the description, because I can't keep all of them. So I'm going to cherry pick. That's my choice, they were given to me. And I'll pick out the ones that, you know, Cattleya seedlings, you're looking at 3 to 4 years before they bloom. So for me, they've got to be worth that amount of effort to keep them that long to actually get to blooming size. And in addition to that, I've got to find some, those I'm going to keep, I've got to find somewhere to put, so I'm going to rearrange some space. The air cleaner up there is going to go onto the next shelf across, because that top shelf there is an ideal place for lots of small pots and seedlings. And then the big Nobile and the Cattleya, I'll find another spot for those and get them out of the way, so I can clear a lot of that shelf off, and that will get most of the smaller plants in one place, so I can sort of keep my eye on them and things. But a lot are going to need repotting eventually, if not now, and all sorts of things. So it's generated a considerable workload, and on a nice day I'd enjoy doing it, but today it's a chore. Anyway, unwrapping and documenting and some watering. And talking about it's not going to get it done, is it? So let's get on with it. Okay, I thought the easiest way to go over these new plants is I've typed them into my spreadsheet and blown it up, so you might be able to read it. But having just done all this typing, I'm not typing them into the description of the video as well. So there's a Cattleya there, Mary Chen crossed with Duvenii, so that looks like a hybrid crossed with a species. Haven't looked these up or anything yet, I've just got them documented. There's a Cattleya Pintada rosada crossed with Lepordii, Escura, named variety Pintata. Then there's another Cattleya, Little Lemon Drops, I've heard of that one, crossed with an Encyclia Vetulina. Sounds interesting. Cattleya Harrisoniana, Volcano Queen, crossed with Binot, whatever Binot is. Laeliocattleya Pradit Spots, I've already got that one, so I've marked that as a duplicate. Coming down the Dendrobiums, there's 2 Kingianums. Now, whether they're the true species or one of the many masquerading hybrids that are lurking around being sold by unscrupulous individuals, I don't know. And then there's quite a few Latorias in here, which is good. Dendrobium Tetragonum variety Giganteum, that sounds interesting. And there's a Macrophyllum variety Tenatensi. Well, I've heard of Macrophyllum, but not necessarily the variety. There's Dendrobium Nora Tokenaga crossed with Aberrans. I've got a very, very poor quality Nora Tokenaga, and I've also got Aberrans separately, but not the cross. There's a Dendrobium Memoria Christa Erdmann, obviously a named type hybrid. Dendrobium Chrysium, I hadn't heard of that. Dendrobium Jarac Spin Blue, crossed with Wendy Lim Shaung. If it's got Jarac in it, it comes from that French nursery. Then we've got another species, Dendrobium Chrysocrepis, never heard of that. Dendrobium Linguella, never heard of that. There was a Psychopsis in there that I didn't notice when I was unboxing it, and it's a named hybrid basically, 2 species, so primary cross. And there's a Zygonicea, which I didn't notice when I was unpacking, which is Murasaki Kamadu variety dark blue. So those are the ones I've documented. I will say now that none of the Oncidium types made it. They all had cold damage right into the hearts of the plants and starting to show signs on even some of the larger pseudobulbs, so they just didn't make it. And there are some of these that don't look brilliant, but I think all of them ought to pull through. So, I mean, I made some other notes on here as well. I'll just slide across date I got them, who I got them from, and I made a note whether they're obviously all in unknown media because I didn't pot them, but some of them have just they need to be repotted like straight away. Some were still wet, didn't get watered. Most of them got watered. Most of them were very, very dry, and quite honestly I think that's why they made it. And then just some notes on what sort of plant I've got, whether it's a seedling, whether it's a sort of maturing plant. And down here one says huge plant, so the easiest way is to go and have a look. Right, my huge bush has now got a friend. If you think how big this thing is that I've been going on about all this time, well, this one's as tall. Now I haven't had chance to get the names of these in my head as we look at them, but obviously updates will follow. Looks like that cane, oh, I thought that cane was broken. But this one has got signs of buds coming on some of the older canes, so this one's likely to flower. It's a monster of a plant. There's a little bit of cold damage showing on the very delicate new growths, but I don't think it's going to kill the leaves off. I think they're going to make it. So that's the biggie. All the little ones got put up here. I've stuck my cleaner up there for now, while I think. So this is most of the smaller ones. This is the little Psychopsis. The latest growth doesn't look too happy, but there are roots in the pot, so hopefully that will pull on. That's the little Zygonicea. The new growth, actually the two new growths there look like they might have made it through the cold, but only time will tell. You get initial cold damage, but sometimes it can take a while to show. This is an unknown. It had no label on. I must admit it does look like that Bifrenaria that I've already got, but it could be many things. It also looks a bit like a Coelogene, so that's an unknown. And this Dendrobium here in this tall pot's got some new growth coming, but that's an unknown. That one didn't have a label. Some of these have just been plonked back in their pot. They're not really potted, and I'll have to look into all of them to see those that are nicely in their pot with a media that I think's okay, with roots down in the pot, well, they can just stay there for now. And then those that are sat in something I'm not too keen on that I'll want to get out. And those that are really just hanging in the edge of the pot with very few roots, so I'll have to see what I can do with those. This was the only Dendrobium that had bad cold damage on it, but it was also very dry. And that's the Dendrobium Corico, I think. I've forgotten what that is now. I did type it in. There's some other things dotted around, but that's mainly the young plants and seedlings that I've managed to get up there all together with a few of mine as well. Then this Cattleya looks quite good if that new growth makes it, but it's quite a strappy plant heading off in different directions, but nonetheless, and that won't stand up, so I've had to put it in another pot just to get it to stand up. Couple of oddities. This Dendrobium down here is sort of in a basket, and I think it just got plonked in there looking at it. I'm not sure it was potted like that. It may not have been owned long, but it's totally leafless. So, and there's no signs of new growths properly, although there is a nice swelling at the base of that cane and probably there, so I'll have to wait and see with that one. This one over here, this is Memoria Christa Erdmann, and I recognise the shape here, and this is very similar and has similar, it has rhizomes of bloom, so it produces like a spike from near the top of the cane that arches over with quite a few blooms on. And bloom wise, I don't know about the size of the blooms, it looks very much like that one, the one I've got tucked up the back there. You can see the shape of the pseudobulbs, they're very angular. That's that. This thing I believe is two separate plants. There's a short flat sort of squat pseudo bulb with a bud on it. Whether that'll open or not, I don't know. And I believe in the same pot is a totally different plant, because this long thing here is, well, it might be the same plant. It's got a flat shape to it, but not quite sure whether those are both the same plants or not, because they don't look the same. That one kept falling out of its pot, and so I've put it back in the pot so that the roots are covered and put a skewer over it, and I've had to put a little hook on it because it just will not stand up. And this one has got bad cold damage. But it's a deciduous dendrobium, so as long as it pushes some new growths, that won't kill the plant with any luck. Up here, this is Pradit spots, which I've already got somewhere lurking. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. Look, it's got its back to us there near the window. Well, that might be good to actually... That hasn't long been in that holey clay pot, so it won't have sort of grabbed hold of the pot or anything like that, but it is pushing new roots. It might be good to combine those two. Those of you who have been with me long enough, when I received that last year, it was in the strangest thing you could imagine. It was like a circle of coconut, rock hard sort of coconut jam, and it was all jammed in it. It was really weird. Well, that one's in exactly the same thing, so I reckon it came from exactly the same place. This is quite a good mature plant. I think potting them both up together might work quite well, because I've got some larger holey clay pots now, so I could merge those two together. Anyway, I've had a sort of general go at them, mess everywhere, and I had to water all my mounts at the same time, and I had to water the holey clay pots. And it's lucky I've been mucking about with my notes today. Back in the week, I watered all my pots except the holey clay pots. So I thought I'd watered everything, but just checking my notes, I missed some. I didn't get round to that shelf and these. Well, I've run out of time and patience today, so I'll pick up on those tomorrow. And you have to bear in mind there has been no heat out here at all. This is the warmest it's been, and it's only because I've got the door wide open. The daytime's been averaging like 15 to 16. So this is the first time it's got above that. So they're not, you know, the fact that they're a bit dry is not going to hurt anything. So that's all the new plants plonked. I won't say they're placed, they're just plonked in the available space I could find. And there'll be quite a few of those dendrobiums that will get mounted, because it's like I've said before, I've got hanging space, loads of it. There's plenty of spare room to hang things. What I haven't got is shelf space. So, you know, there's going to be an amount of these that will get mounted when I get round to it. And I've just realised I forgot to water those two. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Anyway, that's the new plants. Gratefully received, although I must admit I wasn't expecting anywhere near that volume of plants. And that looks really interesting. Although big. I would imagine those canes are about as big as they're ever going to get, so it's not going to get any taller than that. And it does look like there's quite a few buds just starting on the older canes, so we're going to get some blooms on that one. I don't see any reason why that shouldn't happen. So there we go, new plants accommodated, and I've still got some shuffling around to do to sort this lot out. I have to bear in mind that certainly in a month or so my inlet fan's going to need to be used. So, you know, plants in this area down here are going to have to move, certainly on those two shelves at the very least. And all the cool growers will need bringing round here, so that they get that line of fire of that cooler air when it comes in. But we'll see how we go. It's, yeah, quite a lot of shuffling, quite a lot of different things going on, and now I'm absolutely cream crackered and I'm going to have a sit down. See you next time.